Welcome back, Flair community. Today, we're talking to the co-founders of Kings of Strategy yet again. This is part 2 of a 3-part series, and we're going to sort of discuss some of the top-level assets and also the individual assets and how this affects gameplay. We're going to talk about attribute points and all that good stuff. So let's jump in. So welcome back, guys. We're going to sort of move on to the topic of gameplay and NFTs. So the first question, I guess, is for Rob. So there's 2 different types of assets within Kings of Strategy. You've got the top level assets and the individual assets. What are the differences between the 2?
Generally, I was on the individual assets. Those are going to be more of your individual game player. That could be represented by something like a horse. It could be, a golfer. It could be a football player, a baseball player, amongst all the different sports disciplines. So that's going to be just your individual player that then improves as you assign different attribute points along its life, along its career. And then the top level assets, which has been getting a lot of conversation in the Discord channel, those are going to be, I think it was referred to earlier, basically kind of the business within the game. So those will be represented by your major venue, horse track, golf course, team franchise, where the owner of that asset basically will make all of the decisions surrounding how they want that asset or that venue to be used. So as a horse track, for example, they will kind of set their payouts, their prize pools, something that they can do to lure in the best horses to run races at their tracks. Golf courses, same kind of concept. In a lot of the team games, those top level asset franchise owners will have to go out to basically the free agent market of sorts and hire players to participate and make up their team or their roster to compete against other teams. So those are kind of, I guess, the general differences between the individual assets and some of the top level assets. And I'm sure you can.
Yeah, I think you pretty well said. The individual assets are the competitors, and the top level assets are the organizations that are going to facilitate the competitions in the non-team sports. So the horse tracks and the golf courses would be the top level assets in the non-team sports, and then in the team sports you have franchises, which would be the top level asset, and then the individuals would be the horses, the golfers, and then those players. And so each one of them will have different ways to earn income and to compete and improve. But the top level assets, there are finite amounts. So there will only be X amount of those. And the individual assets are in theory unlimited because people can mint as many of those as they want. They just, the ones that are minted that aren't, haven't had attribute points developed or assigned to them to develop them won't be as valuable as the ones that have.
Yeah, sure. That makes sense. And, I've definitely noticed the extremely high demand for these top level assets, these in-game businesses where, like you say, people can sort of customize them a little bit and attract these individual players or horses, whatever, So I'd really like to know if the community are going to be able to acquire these top level assets and sort of how are they going to be distributed?
Oh, that's a great question. So the official distribution plan should be available, or not should be, will be available before we launch subscriptions, because we want to make sure that we release all the rules before we take any money. We want people to know what the rules are, and after that, if they're changed, it's going to be community governance, short of just an obvious glaring change that needs to be made that kind of everyone agrees upon. But the distribution plan is a percentage of them are going to go to the community via ownership points, which is going to be a whole video on its own explaining how that works. And so I don't want your users to glaze or viewers to glaze over and try to maybe get into all of the details of the inner workings. But if they hold some tokens, they're going to earn ownership points, and they'll be able to use those ownership points to purchase community top level assets. So that's going to be one bucket. Then there's going to be a different percentage that's going to be sold or auctioned. And then there's going to be another percentage that is potentially given away via contests that we are yet to announce or even maybe firm up the exact details, but we're close on a lot of that. So the contest, and then we're going to leave a percentage for the community to vote on the distribution model after the governance has been handed over. So basically, we're going to sell some, we're going to give some away. The community is going to be able to participate in ownership by holding tokens and providing liquidity, and then we're going to leave some to the community to vote on how they are allocated at a future date.
Yeah, cool. That makes a lot of sense. Rob, you got anything to add to that?
No, just again, the Discord channel has been pretty festive about the top level assets I've seen, even stuff that we've talked about amongst ourselves of how we would envision those being handled. Some of just the early adopters have come up with even more creative ways, and maybe even we even thought about as far as how those are going to be gobbled up. I've seen or read stories of conglomerates and people combining forces and joining together. And I know there was I won't say it's a concern, that's maybe a strong word, but I see some say, well, these top level assets, they're probably going to be way, way too expensive for me to get in on.
Yeah.
Well, not necessarily, because again, there are going to be some contests to give some away. So there's a luck chance where you might be able to participate in some of that. But again, the early adopters is key. They're going to have the best chance, if they decide they're going to go participate in the auction side of it, to maybe not get them for as much as they think they are.
I would say, though, that one of the most important principles of the project is fair distribution. So that's why we want to announce the rules and then let the chips fall where they may. But we don't want insiders getting in and doing this or that. We're going to lay out, here's how it all works. Here's how they're going to be distributed. Here are the rules. And then from that point, it's fair for people to, and we've tried to make a path where even the little guy can buy some tokens, provide liquidity, and have a small share of the community track or what have you. And they would participate in the revenue from that track based on their percentage. So we want the little guy to be able to get in, and then we also we want the whales to come fight to have the best golf course. So it's an economic competition.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's really good that, you have this idea of fairness where it's not just, going straight to the whales. You've got people with less to contribute, but they can still get a piece of the action. And like you say, Rob, with the idea of competition, some of these assets are going to be derived from luck as well, which no one knows the outcome of. So moving on, we've got the individual assets, like the golfers, the horses, etc. And they're obviously able to level up through these attribute points. So how does this actually affect the gameplay?
So basically, if you have a competition, it's going to be a smart contract algorithm that is on the blockchain. And when that competition is triggered daily or weekly or depending on the competition level, it's going to be simulated, and there are going to be considerations for speed and stamina. And this goes back to the open source community competition algorithms that, we're welcoming developers to submit their proposals on maybe the best way to handle those or manage those. But for example, if you have a high level of speed of 90 speed, we're going to use the Flare random number generator to determine kind of how much of that you get to use. And so if we were to pick a number from 1 and 10 and you get a 10, then you get all 90 of your speed. But if we get a 1, you might only get a 9 on your speed. And so even though you're really fast, you had a bad day today. And the guy who is slow, he's got a 20 on his speed. He got 100, on the Flare random number generator. And so now he gets 100% of his speed. And so his 20 trumps your 9 and you end up losing. And so that's just a quick kind of summary of how the attribute points will come into play. And the strongest competitors will win the higher percentage of the time, but on any given day, anything can happen.
Yeah, sure. So it's this idea of probability, if you've got good statistics, then there's a good chance that you might win, but there's still some room for the underdog to maybe get the advantage. And I think that's really great, especially for these people who are coming just new to the game and they really want to get involved. So play to earn is becoming increasingly popular. What I really want to know is how can people make a real income playing Kings of Strategy? Now, we sort of discussed the top level assets, but I'm talking more from an individual asset point of view.
There's a couple of different ways. So let's say that you have a horse, and you're going to take your horse and you're going to enter it into a weekly competition at a track of your choice. And so let's say there's 12 horse tracks. You might have 3 of them that offer the lower level races, and you might have 3 of them that offer the medium level races, and 3 of them that offer the higher level races. And you can go take your horse and compete at any of those tracks based on the level of those horses. And you can choose to enter a free race with your horse, and if it wins, you're going to receive tokens, so King Coin or K Coin tokens that are distributed to the track owner as fan revenue, and they have to pay a percentage of that out in prize pools. And each track owner can set their own percentage payout. So they can say, we're going to pay out 80%, or we're going to pay out 60%, and we're going to give them a range so they can't keep it all, but they're going to then compete against each other for to pay out to the users. And so users who have the horses can choose what level of race to enter in to try to compete and win. And in addition to winning the King Coin, they could also win NFTs. So if you win a special race, there will be trophy NFTs that commemorate the different levels of wins, and so there's going to be a lot of other assets in addition to the K Coin. And then the top level assets could, like I mentioned earlier, have sponsorships or lots of different ways that they could monetize. We've even envisioned them doing 3D environments where top level assets, maybe one golf course chooses to make a really cool visual environment, and so it lures players to come there versus a different golf course. And so
Yeah.
I feel like I stole that. Really Rob, anything to touch on.
No, you hit on a lot. Again, there will be multiple ways. Again, the main thing, I guess, to kind of drill in is the user is going to be able to see track A, track B. Track A is paying out X. Track B is paying out Y. They'll be able to kind of make that determination of where do I think I'll get the most bang for our buck. As far as the King Coin distribution payouts are concerned.
And we'll show the average level of skill that a horse races in this track is this. And so you can kind of gauge where you are versus where the competitors are at that track and kind of determine where you should fit in.
Yeah, I really like that. The ideas of the top level assets sort of competing against each other to, like you said, try and lure these players in. And it's going to be, I guess, all the different levels. They might want to attract people who are very early to the game, or you might have these premium top level assets which really want to attract the top tier individual assets, those with the highest attribute points.
And everything in between.
Yeah, exactly.
I think you should be in charge of marketing. It seems like you've got a really good grasp of exactly where this is headed.
Well, it's an incredible game, and I'm extremely excited, as I'm sure you guys are. But to talk about both of these assets, the top level assets and the individual level assets, they're both going to be represented as NFTs. So where are these going to be able to be bought and sold and traded? Is there going to be some sort of marketplace where people can sell these assets between each other?
That's a great question. Yes. First of all, when they mint them, they will mint them from our website. So they can do that for free. They'll come and they'll mint them. After that, there will be some sort of marketplace. We're in discussion with a few people to maybe, I don't want to say make a deal, but there are some concerns that me personally, I don't think that players should be able to be transferred, like the individual assets. And this is something the community is going to have to decide on. But I don't think that players should be able to just be transferred from one wallet to another. I think they should have to be sold through a marketplace, because if you just transfer from one to the other, you can have a top level asset owner go out and just farm a bunch of players. So if you own a team, we don't want someone to just go farm a bunch of players and transfer them to their team and keep all of the coin.
Yep.
So if they want to farm those players, they need to put them up for sale through the marketplace and give everyone a chance to purchase them. And so with that said, we need a marketplace that's going to cooperate with that model and be able to kind of work with us. So we've considered building our own internally and just having it on the Kings of Strategy website. And then we've also had some discussions with other parties that are building marketplaces. So we're open to listen to anyone out there that maybe sees this that wants to come up with an offer or an idea. But ultimately we will probably end up building our own unless the perfect situation presents itself.
Yeah, that's really great. So for those who are watching, what is the best place to come and find more information about Kings of Strategy?
You got this one again.
Okay, best place to start, kingsofstrategy.xyz. Hopefully you'll flash our Discord address up there. I do not know it off the top of my head.
Yeah, discord.gg/Kings of Strategy.
Perfect. Been a lot of good conversations in there. There's a Q&A section that has some frequently asked questions. A lot of people have. We'll try to post and moderate best we can. Big shout out to all the ambassadors who are helping some of the people there at the Discord kind of field a lot of those questions. And then also our Twitter, which I believe is Kings_strategy.
Yep.
I wanted to touch on that. We want feedback. We're trying to finalize the rules, but we want ideas. And so we want people to tell us what they think is good and what they think is bad about our strategy and how they think the game could be improved, or what holes they see or exploits that they see where, like I mentioned, the farming of the assets. Like, we try to think of all of that to make sure there's no way to really, I don't want to say cheat, but get an unfair advantage. And so, if users have feedback, please bring it and share it, because this is your project, just as much as it is ours.
Yeah, for sure.
And one last note, promise.
Yep.
When we started trying to theory this thing out first of the year, it'd be pretty easy to come up with just a horse race game or a football game, or that model's been done, rinsed, repeated 1,000 times and will be. So when you start throwing in the economics piece of it, that's where this thing started to really kind of take a life of its own, and we started seeing all the possibilities and potential. But again, like Jerry said, we don't know everything. But I promise there are people out there in the community that have ideas we probably never even thought of. So yeah, we would welcome anybody's feedback. There's a suggestion section in the Discord group. So yeah, please bring all information. We'd love to hear it.
Yeah, the Discord for Kings of Strategy really is a wealth of knowledge, and like you say, the more input that you get, the better you can refine the overall product. So it's been really great chatting to you. Absolute pleasure to have you on the channel, and until next time, I'll see you soon.
Thanks for all you do.
Appreciate it.
So there we have it, an absolutely incredible section, I'm sure you will agree. And as I said before, this is part 2 of 3, so feel free to check out the final part. And yes, lots of nuggets, and if you have any suggestions, please feel free to join the Discord, discord.gg/Kings of Strategy. Until next time, I'm out.
Mission Control, we have liftoff.